Life after death. Life after death.
Monism. Theory that the mind is inseparable from the body. Mind and body are linked together to form one entity. Human beings are psychophysical unities. Monists will only support life after death if it concerns physical survival, i.e. bodily resurrection. Strengths. Identity of person is linked to physical body. Our mental activity is caused by neuron activity, mind and body working as one. There is no physical evidence for the existence of a soul, supports our knowledge of the physical world. Weaknesses. Does not support theistic view of afterlife, resurrection, reincarnation etc., no sense of purpose in our earthly life, no incentive. Morality becomes meaningless as the soul doesn't live on. No explanation for things which only occur in the mind, e.g. love, joy, fear. Reductionistic theory, idea that everything we do is physical equals absurd. Is love really just the behavior of kissing? John Hick replica theory. If someone died and appeared in another place with the same memories and physical features, then it would be meaningful to regard this replica as the same person because they would be conscious of being the same person as the one who had earlier died. Background to Hick. We develop our morals and the choice to develop a relationship with God. The soul needs a body so that it can continue into the afterlife. The soul changes and become in the likeness of God. The body and soul equals inseparable. Eschatological answer. We are provided with an explanation for evil in the earthly life. After death likeness of God. Supports monism. A replica equals us in a perfect state. The location of a replica is not on Earth. The replica is not the same as a copy. There is only one replica and it is the real you. We can't have thousands of copies as to be human is to be an individual. The resurrection of the person. The resurrection is the creation of replica by God in a different space. His replica theory shows that resurrection is a divine action in which an exact replica of ourselves is created in a different place. A world of resurrection is logically possible as it is not spatially related to our world. Strengths. Reassurance that there is life after death. There will be an answer to life problems. Eschatological answer. The concept of an afterlife, where replicas are observed, is perfect. Weaknesses. Some propose the idea of multiple replicas, but then the individuality of the replica is lost. What stage of the bodily life is the replica of? Discussion of the nature of the replica is limited. Are terminal illnesses replicated if the replica is ill at the time of death? Brian Davis states the replica theory is not comforting. If there is an afterlife, there needs to be more than replication. Resurrection, Christian. People have one life on earth and at death they will be resurrected and God will not abandon them. Christians believe that death is an end to the physical life and a beginning of a new stage in life, in a spiritual sense. The New Testament describes the afterlife as a paradise. They believe that life after death involves judgment. Then they will go away to eternal punishment but the righteous to eternal life. Matthew 25:46. Catholics. Most souls go to purgatory to be purified before heaven. State of preparation for the beatific vision, the immediate sight and vision of God in heaven. It is here that is the final end for humans, and it is then that these souls are ready to be united with the resurrection body. Protestants. Some interpret life after death as a spiritual event that shows the soul traveling to God, but not with a physical body. They believe a resurrection body is distinct from present bodies. Also they believe the resurrection is where people meet and recognize others. Strengths. Some claim that a bodily resurrection is more credible than a spiritual resurrection, as with the spirit a person cannot be meaningfully identified. Scriptural support from the three monotheistic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Weaknesses. It is debated as to whether the resurrected form is identifiable with the person who has died. The resurrection of bodies suggests that there must be some kind of space as bodies take up room, therefore implying that heaven must be a physical place. If we are resurrected in physical form, will we still have physical needs such as hunger? Would a physical resurrection be greater than a spiritual? Immortality of the soul. Dualism. The theory that the mind and body are two separate and distinct entities which exist independently of the other, but can influence the other. Humans consist of composite natures, partly material, physical body, and partly non-material. Descartes, the body is spatial but not conscious. Mind is non-spatial but with feelings and thoughts. They are two separate entities but interact with each other through the workings of the brain. The physical body eventually dies but the soul lives on. Quote,
Our soul is of a nature entirely independent of the body and consequently is not bound to die with it. And since we cannot see any other causes that destroyed the soul, we are naturally led to conclude that it is immortal.
Strengths. Our common sense tells us that our mind and body are separate things. We have non-physical experiences, such as emotions. The mind is a private place separate from the physical world. No amount of physical information could reveal personal experience of emotions etc. and these may be evidence to suggest the mind and body. Weaknesses. No explanation of what the mind is made of / how it works. This theory is not scientific. Science tells us that all things physical explanation. There is no room for a non-physical entity within the universe. The soul is an illusion that will disappear when we know more about how the physical world of the brain works. E.g., just how sunsets are illusions when we learned more about how the earth works. Plato, a dualist, consists of two separate entities, mind and soul. The soul belongs to a level of reality higher than the body, called the world of forms. Believed that the soul is imprisoned in the body and its aim is to be liberated and to see the world. Real identity of a person is in their soul. Soul comes from the world of forms, spiritual, and has the ability to know truth through reason. Soul is eternal, soul is immortal. Body, present in the visible world, material / physical. Learns only through physical sense experiences. The senses can often be mistaken and are deceptive. They are subject to decay and eventual death. Plato believed that the soul is divided into three parts: reason, emotion and desire. Cave analogy. According to Plato, the world outside the cave represents the world of forms while the shadows on the wall represent objects in the physical world. The escape of the prisoner from the cave, who has only ever seen the wall of the cave, the shadows of things outside of the cave and not the entrance, represents philosophical enlightenment and the realization that forms are the true reality. Most people are like the prisoners in the cave. They think the shadows are reality. Philosophers, though, are like the man who escapes the cave and sees the real world. They have true knowledge. Myth of found at the end of the Republic. Plato tells of a soldier, who was killed on the battlefield. After 10 days his body showed no signs of decomposition. As his body was placed on the funeral pyre, he awoke from the dead and discussed his experience of the afterlife. Claimed to encounter judges who administered rewards / punishments for those who had led virtuous or immoral lives. Wicked lives were given punishments. Souls choose a new life to be reborn into, animal or human. Those who had been punished chose more wisely as they learned from their mistakes. Plato stated that the philosophical people would choose a new life of peace and justice, rather than being greedy and asking for more. We have a responsibility to be good in order to justify a better next life. When souls had chosen their destinies, they were told to drink from the river of forgetfulness to allow them to forget their previous lives and encounter. Strengths. Stephen Evans. Plato offers a rational argument for the existence of another reality, which can be read off this world, even though not fully. This involves free choice. McGee. The theory that there is another world than this gives value and meaning to our present world. Criticisms. How do we know when all three parts of the soul are in balance? The theory doesn't match without idea of being a unified whole. Relies of the assumption of the world of forms. Heaven and Hell. Heaven. A place of fulfillment and relationship with God. It is the ultimate goal of human existence. A reward for desiring what is good. Hell. A place of punishment by God. The fate of people who do wrong in earthly life. State of separation from God and contains images of fire, pain, suffering and torture. Shows God's justice. Near-death experience. The term arose in 1975 in the book Life After Life by Raymond Moody. AND is a distinct subjective experience that people sometimes report after an episode where they nearly died or were clinically dead. In 1982 Gallup poll, 15% of respondents claimed to have had a near-death experience. Hugh Montefiore. The paranormal. A bishop investigates something very specific when people are near to death or think themselves to be. It is not uncommon for people to have out-of-the-ordinary experience when they are in situations close to death. Pleasurable near-death experiences involve mostly feelings of love, joy, peace and bliss. No pain is involved. Classic pleasurable near-death experience includes 4 phases that tend to happen in a certain order. Disassociated, no longer feel associated with their physical bodies. Feel detached and completely peaceful without seeing/hearing or feeling anything in particular. Naturalistic phase, become aware of the natural surroundings, typically their bodies and the surrounding area, from a perspective outside their bodies. Things look and sound normal but unusually clear and vivid. Supernatural phase, meet beings/environments that they do not consider to be part of the natural world. Meeting deceased/loved ones, communicate mind to mind. Return, half of pleasurable near-death experiences say they chose whether or not to return. When they chose to return it was because of a love connection with one or more living person. Other half say they didn't choose to return, they were made to. Distressing near-death experiences. Feelings of terror, horror, isolation, anger. Powerless type, having the same phases as pleasurable near-death experiences but they say they felt powerless while this experience was happening to them. Nothingness type, felt as though they did not exist or were completely alone, in a total/external void. Torment type, they were in scary/ugly landscapes, sometimes with evil beings, annoying noises, frightening creatures and other human spirits in great distress. Worthlessness type, felt negatively judged by a higher power or life review. Strengths. Many cases reported, all sharing the same features. It is difficult to understand how so many people could have the same hallucinations. It has happened in cases of religious and atheist patients. Religious inclination makes no difference to the experience reported. The soul does not have physical properties, it could not be detected by machines anyway. Weaknesses. They do not occur in all cases of people who are clinically dead. Similar sensations can be caused by psychoses, hallucinogenic drugs without the person being near to death. There has been some success in creating these experiences artificially. A buildup of carbon dioxide in the brain and the release of endorphins can lead to the feeling of being in a tunnel. Rebirth. A Buddhist person has 4 mental elements: feeling, perception, moral will and consciousness. Nama-rupa equals name-form. When the physical body dies, the Nama-rupa is released and character aspects of the dead person are reborn into the new person. The Vijnana of the human is reborn. The Vijnana of the non-conscious psychic element. Rebirth may not necessarily be back to earth, could be in another spiritual realm/world. Buddhist karma looks at the intention of the action. Good actions produce happiness, arise from generosity, kindness, wisdom and benefit all concerned. Bad actions produce suffering for people and are motivated by aggression. Four types of karmic effects. Maximum/fully ripened, an action motivated by hatred will cause rebirth in hell. Effect equals similar to cause. If we often are criticized/lied to by other, this is a result of lying in the past. Conditioning effect. Stealing may cause rebirth in areas stricken by famine. Pro-life ration refers to the way in which an action done before will tend to be repeated again and again. Strengths. Nobody to judge/decide your future. We determine our future by the way we act and think, nobody to blame but ourselves for any unfortunate karmic results we may suffer. Weaknesses. If rebirth can occur in other worlds/realms, how can we prove life after death? No evidence of rebirth. John Hick, it may be that certain psychic formations which were part of the previous individual are now part of him. If they are not the same memory, are they the same person? Rebirth only occurs in humans. Reincarnation. Hindu belief that the Atman, soul, is the persona true nature. The Atman is located in the samsara, the cycle of birth and death. The Atman's purpose is to reach liberation from samsara and be reunited with Brahman, the ultimate God. In order to reach moksha, liberation from samsara, the Hindu must perform duties, dharma, to gain good karma, consequences. With good karma, an Atman progresses further up the cycle of samsara at death and is rehoused in a better being in their new life. Hindus believe that the Atman is reborn, not the physical body. The body will be new at each stage of samsara, but the soul will be the same as in the previous life. Criticisms. Christians, Jews and Muslims would reject the concept of reincarnation as it rejects the idea that we are given one life which determines our future. The teachings of reincarnation of the soul are incompatible with the teachings of the resurrection of the body. The problem of personal identity. There is no reason to accept that the person before death and the person after are the same person. Contradictory to suggest that two different people are the same person. Resurrection, Islam. A Muslim's purpose in life is to worship God and strive for righteousness so that they can be in a good place at the end of time and therefore eternity. The soul leaves the body at the end of time and awaits Judgment Day. The world will come to an end, annihilation, and this is the day of resurrection. At the final hour people will hear the sound of trumpets and all people from past and present will be gathered in front of God. Those who have lived virtuous lives are to be rewarded with entrance into the garden beneath which rivers flow, perceived to be heaven, Jannah. Those who have lived wicked lives are punished in hellfire, Jahannam. The angel of death removes the soul from the body, immediately at the time of death. It is removed with care if person has been good or forcefully if person is bad. Soul then returns to earth to stay in the grave until day of resurrection. Angel of death asks the soul in the grave 3 questions. 1. Who is your Lord? 2. Who was your prophet? 3. What was your way of life? If answered correctly, the angel expands the grave to make it more spacious and comfortable. If answered incorrectly, the grave closes up to a suffocating space and the angel tortures and torments the person until the day of judgment. The belief is known as the punishment of the grave. At the day of judgment, the book of deeds is read. This book is recording of your entire life, everything that is done/said/thought. Each person is responsible for their own actions.
Thank you for watching. If you want this channel to upload more videos on A-level religious studies, please like this video and subscribe this channel. To purchase notes or if you have any questions, please see description.